3,500%. This is what my MD strategy made by applying the strategy to the stocks of the S&P 500. And I'm not only applying it to that, but I'm considering in my backtesting the survivorship bias. Richard Dungeon had a couple of remarkable quotes. One of them is, making money is about watching prices, not studying fundamentals. In this spirit, I created a variation of one of his suggested strategies. Here's the equity curve of the strategy applied to the stocks of the S&P 500. On the left, we see the same equity curve applied to the ASX 300 stocks. Before I show you the exact rules and how to create them with WealthLab, let's look at some metrics of the MD strategy applied to the stocks of the S&P 500. The profit was 3,667%. The APR was 11.67% and the WealthLab score 10.62. We had 718 trades in 35 years and 3.5 trades per month. Before I get to the rules, let's have a look at the drawdown. The drawdown is important since it shows you the largest loss that occurred to you during your trading period. But that's just one number. Red is the drawdown of the strategy, which was almost always around 20, but only hit once the 28%, just like it shows here on the right. On the other hand, you see the drawdown of the S&P index, which is the black line, which was down to 48% at the beginning of 2000, and then at 2008 it was down to 56% again, which is a big number. Here are the rules. Enter a trade at the next bar if the close is above the 50 bar moving average. Also, the index must be above the 100 bar moving average. In WealthLab, you can either program it with C# or you can use drag and drop. For me, I prefer drag and drop. I don't want to learn a programming language first like Python or C# to test my strategies. That's why I love drag and drop. This feature allows you to drag any criteria into the entry or exit blocks and adjust them accordingly. Now let's take a look at our building block. On the first block we see that the close has to be greater than the moving average 100, applied on weekly bars and on the S&P 500 data. The second criteria is the one that we apply on each and every stock of the S&P 500. If the close is higher than the highest high of the past 50 bars, that's when we're gonna buy. What is that last criteria? I come back to this one once we talked about the money management setting. On the left, you see a small part of the criteria that you can drag into the building block. When do we sell our positions? Well, if the close is less than the lowest low of the past 45 weeks, that's when we close the individual stocks. Also, we have an OR divider. That means we exit all positions if the S&P 500 is below the 90-week moving average. Then all positions will be closed. This is a precaution rule. You can see it here. On November 3rd, 2023, we exited all positions just to get it back in a week later. What is our money management? We use 4% of the equity per trade, which allows us to hold a maximum of 25 stocks at any given time. Here's where you configure your strategy settings. First, choose whether to backtest a single symbol or a portfolio. Next, select your data scheme, set the date range, and choose a benchmark. On the right, specify the position sizing or money management rule you want to apply. As I mentioned earlier, we invest 4% of our equity, only 25 possible open positions. What do we do if there's 30 or 40 signals? Here comes this new rule into place. We buy the stocks with the highest 50-period rate of change. That means those stocks who had the highest percentage gain in the past 50 weeks are the ones who get preferred. Remember at the beginning when I was telling you about how important it is to consider survivorship bias? Here's an example. On the left, we see the equity curve of the S&P considering the survivorship bias. On the right, we see the S&P not considering the survivorship bias. You see the difference. All right, friends, traders and investors, that's it for today's episode of Trading System Lab. Check out my other videos. Just click the link here. Finally, be sure to sign up for our free webinar. Link is right here and in the captions. And as always, thank you for watching and remember, test smart, trade smarter.